privileged to climb trees on the land of the Wabanaki, and I've conducted field research on the land of the Crow, the Shoshone, and the Cheyenne. And I stand before you on the land of the Eyes and the Seminole. The common thread is that there was a time when wolves roamed all of these lands, revered by Native Americans for their keen intelligence, strength, and social bonds. But today there are no eastern wolves in Maine or black wolves in Florida. And for a time, there were no gray wolves in the Lamar Valley of Yellowstone, because people new to the land reviled and feared the wolf, as we often do the things we don't fully understand. Teachers at their core are just storytellers, and so I want to tell all of you one last story before my time at St. Edward's comes to a close. This story is true, based on many hours of data collection and observation shared with me by wolf expert Rick McIntyre on a cold, dark morning over a spotting scope. But I reserve the right, as do all good storytellers, to embellish for the sake of art. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of two wolves. And through their stories, you might learn a grand lesson about love, leadership, and loyalty. Maybe it'll help you decide the kind of person you want to be when you grow up, or maybe it'll help you decide the kind of person you want to be today. In 1995, under the Clinton administration, the National Park Service reintroduced wolves to Yellowstone National Park to restore the balance to a declining ecosystem. One of the first relocated packs was the Crystal Creek Pack. And we're gonna have to keep track of some packs and wolf numbers here. An alpha male and female who had 4 male pups. 3 were black, and 1 was a small, rather bland gray wolf known as number 8. When Rick tells this story, he does a movie trailer voice and he says, 3 will become mighty alpha wolves, control vast territories, and have many sons and daughters. But 1 will die young and in disgrace. And 1 will become the greatest wolf, even greater than the greatest wolf that ever lived. We will focus on the latter, because the former stories are for another day. At about the same time that the Crystal Creek Pack arrived, the Rose Creek Pack was also relocated to Yellowstone as well. This pack consisted of an alpha male and female that were magnificent wolves. They were large, they were strong, they were very intelligent, and they had 8 pups, including Wolf 21, who became the greatest wolf that ever lived. And lastly, we have the Druid Peak Pack. They formed in January 1996. The alpha male was Lone Wolf 38. He was a behemoth of a wolf who tore apart his steel crate during transport from Canada and had to be tranquilized in the trailer. He ended up ruling alongside alpha female 39, who was known for her viciousness. Together, they ruled as dictators, using terror and fear to retain their power. But as is so often the case, while power can be gained this way, it is very hard to keep, since fear rarely breeds loyalty. The Rose Creek Pack had established a territory and was caring for their 8 young pups. With only the 2 adult wolves, the alpha male had to hunt alone to provide for mom and babies. And he followed a scent trail one night and left the boundary of the park. He was shot and killed illegally that very night, and his radio collar sent out a mortality signal. Park scientists knew they had to intervene in order to save the alpha female and the pups, so they rounded them up at their den. And at the time, scientists thought there was only 7 pups, but Mark Johnson, who's a pretty famous wolf veterinarian, just had a gut feeling that there was 1 more back in the den, and he used a pair of pliers to get 6 inches further back and brought out 1 last black wolf pup. And that wolf pup turned out to be 21, the one I mentioned earlier, ended up becoming the greatest wolf that ever lived. Those wolves were brought into pens where scientists would feed them until they could fend for themselves. Now, meanwhile, Wolf 8, our small gray wolf, he's growing up. He looks more like a coyote than a wolf, and his larger brothers pick on him mercilessly. Some days the play fighting is so rough that Wolf 8 wanders out into the woods just to escape it and get some peace. No one thinks much about Wolf 8 or his future. But an important lesson in life is to never underestimate an opponent, because sometimes the greatest strength comes from the heart. During one of his wanderings, Wolf 8 came across the pen containing the Rose Creek pack alpha female and now 6-month-old pups. He was enamored with the pups. They were probably the first wolves he'd ever seen that were smaller than him. And so he played with them through the fence, and he spent days hanging out just outside the pen of the Rose Creek pack. Meanwhile, the Druid Peak pack was growing. Their numbers had increased, and the additional wolves required more territory and more food. They moved through the park like a machine taking down elk. Alpha male 38 had even gone to battle with the alpha male of the Crystal Creek pack, that's Wolf 8's original pack, and killed him. The mourning howls of the Crystal Creek alpha female across the valley would have alerted Wolf 8 of his father's death. And soon, despite the victory, the Druid Peak pack's loyalty to the autocratic alphas would be tested. Scientists released the Rose Creek pack, the alpha female and her pups, from their pens and hoped for the best. But certainly it wasn't an ideal situation, a lone alpha female and 8 growing pups. On the day of their release, Wolf 8 was out there waiting for them. And he immediately did some wolf little play bows and some barks. And the Rose Creek alpha female was surely not impressed by him. After all, her previous alpha male was a peak perfect specimen of a wolf. But maybe because of the time he'd spent hanging out around the pen and playing with her pups, or maybe because she was just a little desperate, she accepted him into the pack as the alpha male. And now little Wolf 8, who had been picked on by his brothers, was now the alpha male of his own pack. And unlike many males, he didn't kill the pups. Instead, he raised them as his own. He hunted night and day to provide for them. And perhaps to the shock of everyone, he was successful. The pups were now yearlings, and the Rose Creek pack appeared to be back on track. Wolf 8 even defended their territory from his original pack, the Crystal Creek pack, and won against one of the very brothers who had picked on him growing up. The Rose Creek pack was enjoying a fresh kill after a pretty vigorous hunt, when suddenly Wolf 8 stood up, looked up the mountain, and saw barreling down at him Wolf 38, followed by 37 members of the Druid Peak pack. The Rose Creek pack was Wolf 8, his alpha female, and his pups. That's it. From a battle standpoint, he didn't stand a chance, but he didn't hesitate. He charged up that mountain at Wolf 38. Wolf 8 was small, he was tired from hunting, and now he was running uphill to fight one of the largest, strongest males who had ever been in Yellowstone, and he was running fresh down the mountain. Scientists knew how this would end, and it was heartbreaking, and we were watching it through spotting scopes. The wolves crashed into each other on the side of the mountain. Fur flew, they were in the air, on the ground. Scientists were crying. I have tissues in my pocket just in case I'll lose it. And suddenly, everything went still, and one alpha male stood over the other alpha male with his jaw locked for the kill bite on the neck. The heart of Wolf 8 had beaten the strength of Wolf 38. I cry every time I tell this story. And not a single member of the Druid Peak pack came forward to defend their alpha male. In the ultimate act of mercy, Wolf 8 released Wolf 38 instead of killing him. That had never happened before, and chased him off the territory of the Rose Creek pack. Wolf 8's alpha female and the 8 yearlings, including Wolf 21 that had been pulled out by pliers from the den, had watched the entire battle and how Wolf 8 had granted mercy to Wolf 38. Wolf 21 never forgot that day. He grew up to be a magnificent leader. Wolf 21 left the Rose Creek pack at 2 years of age and became the alpha female of, can you guess what pack? The Druid Peak pack. After Wolf 38 was shot and killed outside the park, his alpha female, Wolf 39, was driven out of the pack and killed by her own pack members, also a first-time event in wolf history. Their leadership style had ultimately been their downfall. There was no love or loyalty for those dictators. But her daughter was Wolf 42, and she became the alpha female for Wolf 21, and they became two of the greatest wolves of Yellowstone. Wolf 21 never lost a battle, and he never killed an opponent, something he had learned from his stepdad, Wolf 8, who proved that an underdog could rise up and not only become a great leader, but grow future great leaders. 21 also remained a beloved and respected alpha male until the age of 9, when shortly after 42, his alpha female died of natural causes. He laid down under their tree, I'll cry again, in a meadow, and passed away, leaving behind many sons and daughters who would become famous in their own right for their leadership. And so, what I hope you take from this is that the greatest leadership comes from love, the greatest strength comes from the heart, and loyalty comes when those two meet. You can take power through force, as Wolf 38 taught us, but it will be a tenuous hold and unlikely to last. Wolf 8 and Wolf 21 show us that the greatest power comes from putting others before self. As you go forward in life to find your pack and claim your territory, I hope you'll remember the lessons of the wolves. Thank you to all the scientists and volunteers, some of whom are sitting on this stage, who have participated and cared so much about the Wolf Reintroduction Project, so we could all learn from wolves. And congratulations to the newest inductees of Cum Laude. May we meet again someday on lands where we can still hear the howls of the wolves. Congratulations.